Welcome to a new video on the photography minimalist. Gear is important to every photographer. So when you start talking about a gear myth, it becomes very interesting. What do I mean by a gear myth? Well, that is the fact that you do not always need the newest and most expensive gear to make perfect photos. Some photographers put more emphasis on gear, other photographers put more emphasis on their photography. And each photographer is searching for a balance between these two crucial elements of photography. Now, over the past 20 years, I've been working as a true photography minimalist. But I've always been using gear that fit the requirements of the subject that I'm photographing. This has enabled me to focus more on my photography, slow down the process, focus on your subject and the light. This video is going to be about the last 20 years in which I've specialized in portrait and model photography. I'm going to be taking you through the cameras that I've been using and showing you the results which I've been able to achieve for each camera. Some cameras I still own and I can show you in this video. Some cameras I do not own anymore. So let's get started. It's time to start at the beginning. The first camera I owned and ever used was a Pentax K1000. This specific camera I bought myself in 1979, believe it or not, and I had to work the whole summer picking tomatoes to earn enough money to buy this camera. Why did I choose the Pentax K1000 back in 1979? Well, first of all, it's a very reliable camera. It is also a mechanical camera. It still operates without the battery in the camera for the light meter. And it is fully manual, meaning that I can adjust the shutter speed and the aperture to my liking. Now, with this camera, I started off 20 years ago doing my portrait and model photography. And I only used the standard 50mm 2.0 Pentax lens that came with this camera. Let me show you now some results which I've been able to achieve with this camera. Approximately 20 years ago, I also decided to buy my first digital camera. And digital was up and coming for a few years already, and it was very expensive in the beginning. So I opted for a point and shoot digital camera. I still own this camera, and it is the Olympus C4000. It's only a 4 megapixel camera, and you're probably thinking this is ridiculous. A point and shoot 4 megapixel camera for portrait and model photography? Well, there's a specific reason why I chose for this camera. Actually, two reasons. The first one is the quality of the lens, and the second reason is that this camera has a full manual mode, so I can adjust the aperture and the shutter speed to my liking, and that's exactly what I was looking for. An extra benefit was the fact that it was not a very expensive camera. To prove my point, let me show you some results which I've been able to achieve with this simple point and shoot 4 megapixel camera. After using the Olympus C4000, I moved up to DSLRs. But I never bought a new DSLR. I always bought them second-hand. As long as they met the requirements for my subject, portrait and model photography, then I was satisfied with a second-hand camera. I've used the Canon EOS 300D and the 350D. I used the 10D and 20D, and also a 5D and a 5D Mark II. In addition, I also had a Sigma SD9 and a Sigma SD10, and also a Fuji S5 Pro. What I thought I would do is group some photos together to show you which I made with these cameras. Just a little side note before we continue. I still truly believe that you can make great photos with older model cameras that are not very expensive. And for that reason, last year I purchased a second-hand Kodak DCS Pro 14N full-frame DSLR. This is a camera back in the day which was very expensive, and it was a professional camera. Nowadays you can pick them up for not even $100. And I'm going to prove that point again to you. I will be making a video very soon on this specific camera doing a portrait shoot. And I'll prove to you again that you can still make great photos. After using digital cameras for many years, I decided to return to film photography. Specifically for two reasons. First of all, you still cannot replicate film with digital photography. That's an important point. And another important issue for me is that it slows down my photography process and enables me to focus more on my subject and on the light. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what photography is all about. I do still use a digital camera. That's not something specifically for portrait and model photography. It's a Fuji XS1 bridge camera. It's a camera which is already about 10 years old. It's not a highly sophisticated camera. It does have a good build quality and a very nice lens. And I did take quite some model and portrait photos with this Fuji XS1. So, for this last camera, I would also like to show you some results that I've been able to achieve with the Fuji XS1. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it was informative for you. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so and keep up to date with all my new videos that will be coming out this year. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.